Say enche kura no ombeda na di.
Adihye wo German North e wo bonomanta mu chirim say anamonto be post di omonam so no emfa kwam enti post san hene wo mbrem
Wamu a wo ma ben e wo sakasam tutue mu e kire say de esese ye sere be Cedi ni betumi agya na so pintin no wo mo a kire mo adwene e wo enkran ha
dunkwa wonofin kwan no ahemfo ene ne mpinfo serempinfo kan bi wo mchirim say asai pa nto be hinsisi
ensemi ka ho ane ade so musakase bwakenkanfo yeme eja kwabenamene
Sadat Muhammad
Afrika sabone munsam nie Ghana yema pani abedi akire Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyemang ode atudwa akire mu se oman ye Cedi na anya hoden a ebo adwuma na ho behia pa se yesomu yie na yepagya no se de be ya ebenya hoden na nkonkoba so kina bi no ambana no sika no betumrika edeja woman Ghana de no.
We must add value to what we produce. The Cedi will never be as strong as it should be if we continue to export, for example, cocoa beans instead of chocolate, bauxite instead of aluminium, and gold dust instead of jewelry. And we are happy that the Cocoa Board and the Gold Board are leading reforms to fix this. Every stage of processing that happens in Ghana keeps value here, strengthens our city, creates jobs, and adds to our dignity as a people. Our farmers, artisans, and other professionals deserve to see the full reward of their labor at home. Additionally, we must empower small businesses and our youth through training, de-risk lending, and targeted support. We will unlock entrepreneurship and innovation, and I know that the youth will be up to the task. We have a rare opportunity in 2025 to turn emergency recovery into enduring transformation, adding value to our fields, our factories, and classrooms, and our policies will help the city stand steady, and we will all be the better for it.
The strength of the Cedi is not guaranteed by decree. It is earned by every day by what we do. It is earned by the worker in the factory line, by the innovator writing codes in Accra, by the farmer in the field processing value-added cocoa, by the boardroom choosing long-term investment over short-term gain. It is earned by every household choosing to save in Ghana's currency because it believes the Cedi will hold value, not just tomorrow, but for the next decade. Let this forum mark the moment where we move from stabilization to transformation, where the Cedi is not simply defended, but empowered.
To see a problem war as a country, one of it is stability of the Cedi. Yes, yenim say Cedi na enya hoden, but enye na hoden anase be kosura na be enye no na ehwehwe ye stability. Say unim say Cedi no e be depreciate e bia 10% for the whole year. And no go to me plan it. Say this is Cedi no depreciate here e affect bibia because ye import bibia this year you say yen discuss Cedi no stability. Solutions to some of the challenges we have. Any ideas are able to me, I implement it. I must Cedi no stabilize it. It may not take today or tomorrow, but in the long term we should be able to stabilize the Cedi.
Oh my Ghana say Justice Paul Bafuboni yebetutu na no na bibia koye oba Chief Justice ede amomai Ghana. We en anam so dom kuma no wakwakopi mu okotaje tabo no ekirimu se enchechia omani ye nyina no won pese court hwe na wode tabo no etoso esan se enka Chief Justice Mami Gertrude Araba Isabasaki tokunu kwan ye fa so ne yi nade so no Mami no wonya no ho ntiase ode asem na kwakopi mu court nka asem no nwie enti eba ne sen en adom kese ne fa chiri na Justice Paul Bafuboni why vetting eno no wochirim se wompene na wochirim se hwe o my Ghana mamra article 110 clause 1 Article 125 ekusi 127, Article 144 clause 1, and Article 146 a nyina no abanhwe na Paul Bafuboni justice. Omoye ne vet no mabusa amamra no so. Eni ntina mo mpene so ne wo kyena so eka ho na Onumunyanfo Alhassan Tampoli Gushebu Emrahye Bedwani ejina dom kuma na mu a woni sentwerefo di nkomo.
The minority has served notice on the clerk to Parliament that we have a motion for the Speaker to consider the suspension of all activities both at the Parliamentary Select Committee on appointments and the plenary on anything that has to do with the consideration of the nomination of Justice Paul Bafuboni as the Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, having regard to the fact that there are a lot of uncompleted issues regarding the removal of Justice Tokonu as the Chief Justice. And we think that it is right that when you have matters still pending in the matter, you do not bring closure just like that. In Parliament, it is stopped by our own, standing orders from considering matters which are still pending before the courts. Currently, Justice Tokonu has about 6 pending cases at various courts, high courts, all the way to the Supreme Court, and she has 3 pending cases at the ECOWAS courts. And we believe that for good order's sake, it's very, very important that we finish and complete exhaustively all matters that are still pending before we consider the nomination of the acting Chief Justice. It is in the best interest of democracy and rule of law, and indeed it is also in the best interest of Justice Paul Bafuboni as he is being considered for consideration as a Chief Justice, that whatever has been done to Justice Tokonu may be done to him. So it's important that he takes his time. We don't need to be in a hurry. We think that there is a lot of haste, unnecessary haste in the whole procedure that is going through, and then we believe that it is our time that we halt all processes until the completion, exhaustive completion of all other pending matters, before we take the vetting of the acting Chief Justice. So basically that is what we have for you. We tabled the motion yesterday, and we believe at the right time when it is ripe, we would take it up in the plenary.
Now what you mu na mrasebja for sha se wo mo hye omodwuma asibiu wo mkwajo ma home na wo masan ba. Na Speaker of Parliament that you chirim say ene ye pa say wo mo ehya se ko ye yi no mrasebja for no mo ma na kokobo no de ma wo mo say so person mrasebja ni dia ene bra Parliament House na be adwuma nya sade a wakonwa se mrasebja ni no obama na dampan.
It's for good reason we decided that we will sit in the afternoons so that you can take the morning to attend to committees, present report, prepare your reports, attend to your constituents, and that by 2, then you'll be ready to sit. Again, that's the period you can also interact with the ministries, because there is a time established by law for public servants to report to work and to close from work. And so that is a good time for you to have the opportunity to interact and chase things for and on behalf of your constituents. It's for these good reasons we decided to start sitting at 2. I also encourage the fact that the time people are working, they may not have opportunity to observe you and participate in whatever you do. But in the evenings, they'll have the opportunity to sit, watch, advise you, and also make some inputs. That, again, we are not taking advantage of. I'm saying this for the last time. I've given directive to the clerks at table to take the records for this meeting, and please, we have the standing orders, we know what they say, we'll be taking action to make sure that we compel members to sit or to be considered to have vacated their seats.
aban kuntabu dwumadi a ekoso no apomodin so afo oruminyamfo kwamena minta kando kokopie mu ewa sina ne kasa mi na wuchirim se enkane aban no e de contract emadwumako bia wondin ene Lightwave Health Information Management System Limited na bote na etachi ni sare sabia wo Ghana nyina no obebeka omabu mu ewo abefo kwan so na so obi firi Kumase na wo bankran ho hia se afi na wo foda won bia no nyina ne bi firi ho na oruminyamfo ni chirim sisika na nka wo si yetua de madwumako no $100 million yetua nyina de madwumako no na so ebesi nne adwumako na ntima nya adwuma ni nyina ayaresabia 950 no emu 450 pe e no mo information mo timi keka boom enu mpo enye papa bi enti kame akwese enkane aban no wabo Ghana papa enya sem ketwa.
In 2019 Ghana government signed a contract with a company called Lightwaves, and the contract sum was $100 million to connect 950 health facilities. The contract was supposed to expire in 2022. At the end of 2022, the contract was not well executed, and if I say not well executed, he had not connected the 950 facilities. And therefore the contract was extended twice to expire in 31st December 2024. At the end of the expiration, out of the 950 facilities, only 450 facilities had been connected. At this point, you'd all agree with me that the contract was meant for 3 years and extended for 5 years for 950 facilities, and you have only delivered 450 facilities. Clearly, nobody needs to tell you that the company underperformed. And so when we took over, as part of the contract, they were supposed to hand over whatever they executed to the state. So the contract was divided into what we call milestones. Milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. So at the end of each milestone, they are supposed to hand over to the state. You all agree with me that it's unconscionable for any individual or company to have access to the medical records, electronic medical records of Ghanaians without the state taking control, without the state having access to it, without having even access to the service. Again, I have stated that the contract sum was $100 million. At the end of 31st December 2024, although 450 out of the 950 had been connected, the vendor had been paid about $77 million. Clearly, more than 70% of the total amount had been paid, and less than 50% of the work has been done. At that point, we had to refer everything to the AG and the appropriate quarters, including the security.
Wajumedi korona ase no oninyafo mita akando asa de tudie kyerem se wo hwe okwan a adwumakuo ya ye frɛ no Lightwave Health Information Management System for ye no a na kyese wo mabu oman ne papa sansa adwuma wo amanye mu fampo nsika etu omo no kyese kakra na etu awie de so mo hwe nkrata mu no se na adwumakuo na faso ne niam na oman Ghana yentumi nya kwan enwura bebia ya ye kyerɛto me kyerɛ records wo ɛwɔ saa adwumakuo no hyehyɛ mu no na dia da se trudu se adwumakuo no ɛyɛ bu yanim tia pa nti no wo mo adane asɛm no ade amato ne general no ma ye mu enhwehwɛ mu.
As a ministry, what we had to concern ourselves with was a solution of the matter to get out this mess. in order to avoid these disruptions and the shutdowns we are experiencing, although we didn't have any contract with the vendor as at the time we took over, we indicated to the vendor that the ministry was ready to sign service maintenance agreement covering the 450 health facilities. Don't forget that the software is and was not for the state. That is why it's called LIMS, Light Wave Health Information Management System. It's not for the state. In the agreement, we indicated that before we sign such an agreement with you, you have to hand over the data to the state, and you must give us administrative access to the service. The vendor insisted that those clauses must be expunged from the agreement. We cannot expunge those clauses from the agreement because it is the state that must take charge of these data. So the vendor decided to switch the system of as and when he desires and as and when he demands what. And this has gone on for some time now, more than 2 months. And for the past 2 weeks or so, the system has been completely down. If this is not blackmailing, I don't know what it is. At that point, what was important was to find a solution to get out of this mess.
Dwumadie sonko bi abaso ewo enkran ye Ghana Economic Forum 2025 na mpinfo kopiemu asie bi ne de to abanyanim se wonfa nchihye pangu apono so mboa na Ghana Cedi no ahoden entumi mbrem na niam mbo nso entumi mafom ma Ghana for afin so kwan ya faso na ye kra niam afira monone no dedo na no emfa kwan paso eno so na banhwe na wontimi sia no kwan afi Ghana koko ene yon gold no abanfa kwan paso ndi mo adwuma ye na ye nya sika emfa mbo ye de no achidom.
The under invoicing, the weakness of our ports and our borders. Recent report from GSS, Ghana Statistical Service, demonstrated the informal sector and the over 7 billion cedis worth of imports from the Palugu border and the Togo border, Aklawu border. That alone is disrupting the beverage industry. Go on and on. The textile industries are going down. The oils, Avnash, name them. How could this company stand when your borders are porous and there's so much smuggling? But the ecosystem needs to be reset and streamlined for sustainability and growth.
And just last week, I was having a discussion with the CEO of the Toronto Stock Exchange, where there are 40 companies listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange whose largest or only assets is from a license in Ghana. And yet when we as Ghanaians want to participate in that wealth, we can only do so by going to buy shares on the Toronto Stock Exchange, not on Ghana Stock Exchange, because none of these, maybe 2 of the companies are listed here. So ownership is very important, whether it's of our cocoa, so that the farmer can sell cocoa beans to the factories that are established here, who can grind, turn into chocolate, etc. If it's gold, that we own it because we have the actual produce as held by a central bank, then we have a jewelry industry, then we have all the other things that come about it.
We can be here talking about the good times, talking about how fantastic everything is, but what are we doing to put aside enough? And every time we hear pressures coming from the Cedi should drop to what I've heard some people quote as low as 9. The central bank should intervene more. it has me frightened. Because what do we do when the winds turn from being in our favor?
If we haven't reformed the tax structure such that we will be able to generate more and be able to absorb that particular component, then this issue about giving more rebates will eventually come and bite us. And eventually, whatever role we expect the government to play, it will not be in a position to play. So I think, government putting its finances in order, improving the compliance on the existing tax counters, especially the VAT. We know that is supposed to come up when the budget comes up.
Yeah.
That will enable the government to be in a stronger fiscal position to play that particular role.
Adishimama UTV no nsiaka sebo na muhwe madama muma yakwaje aboafo nkrato yeba ade aka no yede beto aso.
Ghana this year emamu nyina akwaba ye to ayensem ne so
said ye beye na anyinamo hoden ene enso ka yiti o maga na mu ha no ya yitia no ye betumi nyante ase na nchirikiremu a wo mo ye ho adwuma de bebre ne enu betumi ato adwene ne yakoba nkurum ho okwan betumi afaso ne yetua ne betumi atua no ama PURC akoye bedwamu nkyerɛkyerɛ ene adwusato abi ewo omentifi apue mantamu said be betumi aboa ne mwatie di amanfo no so woka afa enso ene anyinamo honde boa opese otumu no
is affordability. Affordability in two things that you can pay and also the service will be available. Because the cost of unserved energy is very expensive. If I talked about unserved energy, you are talking about issues where you have to use a generator, you have to use a candle, you have to use kerosene lamps and all that. It's very expensive. So as we go to the table, as I said before, we are going to also consider the decision variable. The variable is what you are telling me, that as we do our work, we should consider that the consumer who is going to pay should be able to pay. And also the utility service provider will also be able to deliver the right kind of service. It will improve. That's what the discussion we're having on our panel of commissioners. And we have even come to experience it. You see how the lights went off. Where we are sleeping, the lights go off and on. And it is a problem. So this is something that we are going to look at. Some of the investments that they want to do is meant to improve the services coming to the north. So these are some of the things that we will ensure that it is done, and we ensure that the quality of service from the northern part of this country is improved. I mean, I don't think there's no gainsaying about it, that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is highly committed to fighting galamsey. If any group of people was committed as he is today, we will not be where we are.
I have had a lot of community people or consumers approaching me looking for meters. And when you follow them to VRA, for example, you do all the necessary things. At the end of it, or they will tell you, you go when the meters come. The meters will take 1,000 years without coming. And it is affecting us. And I was also looking at, yes, they come out with percentages, giving it out to the consumers or whatever. I was interested in also knowing what are the criteria involved that they employ to arrive at set percentages that they send down to consumers. Because our income levels, did they consider it, did they factor it in? What are the other prevailing conditions? I'm just so curious as a consumer to know the criteria they have employed in descending or coming down to such a percentage where they, met out to consumers. And so these were the few things I am interested in. And so corruption, if they are able to do something about corruption, if they are able to make available meters that customers or consumers can easily get them, it will improve. And if they are also able to cut down corruption, it will improve. And so it has been a serious issue affecting, the quality services of those utility organizations.
My concern is I live along the White Water. I actually said that what they are saying there is music to my ears, because PURC or Ghana Water, they said their mandate is to extend water to urban towns. And I'm actually coming from a village. But what concerns me much is that I am living along the White Water, where my people are farmers. They are 100% farmers. They move from their villages to their farm, where they are not supposed to even be carrying water. But now, farmers carry water from home to the riverside that flow, the White Water. That is not proper. That is not right. So,
European Parliament, Omabejuku ahwe amonone nkitawdi hu nsem so no, won tetenani ene wura David McAllister na wodi adomani mababepie mu e wo Ghana mu no obaye nso wodi wani chire mu Ghana mra sebeje fie chairman Right Honorable Abansomana Kingsford Bagman na so. Enkomotwetwe mu no ene wura McAllister wodi tumra sebeje fie chairman anim se. Kabema meka bia Ghana ye practice ne ye di adwuma no efe akono ye mo ho ban. Na Ghana yasumdwe hu nsem koya bibirem nyina no yebenya so mfaso na mra sebeje fie chame ka sai mu no ene wo bo opinina no ho ba se kama meka bidie Ghana yete ase yebekoso no yabo ho ban enu nti opeba bi du nsika ko hyenwuma mu a omra Ghana.
The real winner of a democratic election will always enjoy this in a very humble and modest way, and for those who lose an election, it's not the end of the world. The next match will be played a few years later, and then you can come back. I've been in my political life through government and opposition times, and I can tell you that being in power is even nicer than being in opposition. But the opposition of today is also always the government of tomorrow. And because Ghana is a politically stable country, we also were very honored a few years ago to have President Akufo-Addo address the European Parliament in Strasbourg. And I remember his speech. There were many colleagues in the room, perhaps also because I took the floor in our group meeting and said, I believe today we will hear a different African voice, because he was also underlining it's not about development. He was also stressing it's about trade, it's about free and fair trade. And that was a very powerful message your president at the time presented to the parliamentarians, 720 of the European Parliament. So I would like to congratulate you that you are a political stable country in a, how can I call it, increasingly volatile region. What happens in this part of the world matters also to us in Europe. We are so closely interlinked. So we have a key interest that Ghana continues to play a constructive role in trying to keep this region stable. And that's why I also welcome that we are bringing our security partnership with the European Union to a level which is unprecedented, at least with an African country, because we see what an important role you play in the region and also in ECOWAS.
For a mother to rather prefer to put the child in the craft in the river, because the mother believes that the river is safer than where they are on earth. And so when you see people risking their lives to come to your country, they are aware that so many have perished in the Mediterranean Sea. Yet they feel that that is a better risk than staying in Africa. And so the area that we need to focus more is on this trade and investment. And the world now being a global village, it's easier for us to work together.
October de to sudu baku bia no aya na omde si wo se omrekai emaya aya to ni din se Girl Child Day. Na say International Day of the Girl Child. Na abaso ewo amasama heya. Na sa dwumedi no se ekobaso omhye sa fa no a wo mo a eboa ema emaya oha omo famu se be betumi ateneten wo mo amamanyini abaye mpanipa no ene se no betumi ahwe na oha bi omu no betumi aso no de ma wo no sa mpanifo no na ekasa awo dwumedi na se na afidie no so no na se bedwani wo empatam ho ana afi pani a ohwe omasua so ewo amasama mpatamu ene UTV kasai.
To appreciate you being a girl, and whatever is putting impediments on your way, you communicate with your parents, communicate with your teachers, whatever you think is stopping you to be whoever you want to be, have a communication. What is happening is that most of you girls, a lot is happening, but you are not exposed to be talking to your parents, to be talking to your teachers. I am telling you again, all the female teachers in your school are your mentors. They are your friends. If there's something worrying you in your hopes, when you come, talk to your teacher. Okay? Talk to your female teacher. Talk to your mother. Tell your mom whatever is disturbing you. What we will do as a government agency, for that matter, as the assembly, I will ensure that we enforce laws that will support you. We will enforce laws that will bring progression into your lives. If someone tries to abuse you, I promise you, I'll be there for you.
Systematic gender inequality that affects girls in every corner of the world. This inequality manifests in critical areas, which include access to education, where millions of girls are still out of school, denied the foundational opportunity to learn and build a future. Protection from violence, where girls are disproportionately vulnerable to gender-based violence, sexual exploitation, and early and forced child marriages. Globally, Approximately 1 in 5 young girls were married as children. Ghana is no exception. Up north, if you are a girl, 7 out of 10 will be married at a very early age. Many girls face barriers accessing adequate medical care, nutrition, and comprehensive sexuality education. The day is a rallying cry to address these barriers, transforming them from invisible issues to urgent global priorities. While we focus on these challenges, the International Day of the Girl Child is fundamentally a day of celebration and recognition. It is celebrating the profound strength, creativity, and leadership of girls who are not waiting for change, but they are building the change that they deserve.
Awie ye besere mu biem na yetwe ye ho ni mpire no so ye ba ye beto. Awie Ghana this year yetwa yensem no esoa. Na no mo e no my Ghana Cedi no enye mfinhia dusia 60 years enu ntino ye hye ho fa. Na enam so mafoto sanfo no mnyamfo atoba force nkasa wa Cedi tudwa se Ghana ha se no ade to ene ne ton e Cedi nko a yemfo sika foforo bia no endidwa wo mamu. Enam so ama Ghana for do na no wa kire wona adwen e dia fan sem afoto sanfo wodi tudwa no.
Aha ewe yenya yenim se Cedis ne yedi. Nti se koban se kodi dollar no e chen Cedis na asa be ma amanfo sika no mo akosoro na ye de na bafom. The only thing is say ya Ghana de si edi Ghana sika e Cedis. Se de be ya sika foforo bia beba bia no entimi mpa ye de no ho. Nti ehia ma se edi Cedis. Nti me de ne ya adwen.
Me no kan me feel say yendi dollar no mo Ghana because Ghana Cedis need dey slow. Because ukula $5 kula to Ghana Cedis na ye bebele intini me okay say like in yendi Ghana yendi US dollar no e wo Ghana ha say
me de me side dem me ne ya adwen pa ye di esika be boa yen omai mu ayete sebi o me nsuo na maka ye Ghana for ye sika no e ye Cedis na ye di enso ene ukoto ade ana say uko han dan a obi timi ka kire o say me $. Obebo ni rate in dollars mu na ama enso me ni dollars me ni obi obre me $. Me sika yi aduma me ye Cedis na de beto ade o me ha obi $. Ba kra so de beto ade am kan say me $. No me di $, me di Cedis enso on stand Cedis ma me.
Sometimes when using the dollar in the market, when the dollar goes up, at times it affects the Cedis. So I think if he said we should use our currency more than the dollar, I side with the finance minister.
For me, the papa, now the Ghana from Benin for no, it drew maybe a normal yet to a more yao. Sabi Oko China, says Oko China, won't mean for dollar and come on more, or back catcher was said, for the Chrome China Sikanabra. Cosissa, who see the no dollar no, Cosissa China for Sika never breno. She Chroma. And the school fees Kurano, who could be $1. A great penny home. As a Jack Corona, BBS, I tra, Master penny for a deal of mine and said, a chroma a DCD. I was a Ghana as a higher England and a higher US. But now, Oko to be Biana, no pronounce I don't know $. Oh, Miniatures are no man ever boy. And a school fees no margin in dollar. And so we are in Chada and Musa, Ghana, near where the Cedis. The Abayanka be being in the sister be a normal way day. Ebekoya Maye. Me and Mikitaka about past bears almost 30 years in Miming Kiso dollar muda. They be a Ghana Cedis in a mere day, and I meet. But what I say about you, $1. What would you woman who need dollar? Obi a friend Chrome, Niger, Burkina, Batana Ghana. You should $10. No, on my moon penny for so to every.
Mama ya de kase bodi besi e wo ha da seda e ma aboafo su yas ne specialized this way need to phone need abekwan na me council so be hwu sin a apose ba kwa nyina gia tomu aye pepsodent nkwada wo pani o ma obia to be twetwe ne sei e ma se chi na mo ye deden wanum yehwam e ma se su ye 50 na so kasa o kasa na kokodrum o sere so a wasira kokodrum sa medin de agya kwabena me ne
Sadat Muhammad
je na de kase bo ne bre da mo nyina ase e ma mumu